Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women's Voice, an online platform for women rights initiative. This platform is aimed at having an in-depth discussion on the problems or issues affecting our communities, and also hearing the diverse perspectives of the problems. My name is Namnodo Jacqueline, and I'll be the moderator of this episode. In studio, we have our guest, um, Miss Rebecca, who will briefly introduce herself. Yes, you can go on, Rebecca.
Thank you, Jackie. My name is Rebecca Nanyonjo. I work with Uganda Human Rights Commission, Jinja Regional Office, and I'm in charge of the Department of Education, Training and Documentation, Research. So we create awareness on human rights. As we know, human rights is a diverse concept, so it encompasses GBV as well. You're welcome.
You're welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Today's topic is GBV and technology and how best can women tap into the existing opportunities.
Yes.
Basically, I'll give a brief description of this topic.
Sure.
Technology facilitated with GBV is an action by which one or more people harms others based on their gender, based on their sexual or gender identity, and by enforcing harmful gender norms. This may include stalking, cyberbullying, sexual harassment, defamation, and hate speech and exploitation. And this has been on a high increase during the pandemic, and it's something that is not really talked about, and it has been on the rise. And this, however, threatened the well-being of the many girls and women in their homes, and since domestic violence most times goes unreported, these cases that happen always go unreported, and there has been an increase in the online violence where they are attacked online, and most people focus on the physical, psychological perspective, but they wouldn't know what's happening online. Yeah, so that's the in depth of what we are going to discuss about. So
Yeah.
I would like to go into our key questions on this topic.
Sure.
Briefly, maybe you could talk about the technology and GBV, because some people may not get it.
Thank you so much. As you've talked about GBV in its wider concept, it's basically we need to also consider that men today are suffering from violence as well, and this has been escalated during this period of COVID, meaning the challenges, the economic, social, and cultural challenges we've faced are affecting all of us, women, girls, and men, because we know there are so many men out there who are being harassed because of the economic incapabilities, and also the shock women are suffering and the burden to carry on with their families, and girls also being used in line uh, of suffering the impacts that came along with the COVID-19 preventative and the preventative measures that were put in place have stretched that vice into increase. So when we talk about technology, we know that technology has huge advantages in curbing this vice, but also it has been used to facilitate the violence in its form. We talk of the sexual harassment, the online bullying, the normalization of this violence. We see some of these posts posted on social media. Some of them is not to prevent, some of it is not to, but to bully and to shame people, which is not good when it comes to our need to collectively fight this vice. But then, if we tap into technology, we can get the best use of it to end GBV in its vice. As I will talk in our local context as Ugandans, what can we use technology to ensure that we use it extensively to fight this vice? We know that so many people out there cannot access technology. Today we move with our technology on phones. Few people have computers, but still we understand that the few who can access use of phones can also ensure that these funds are used meaningfully to help our sisters, to help our mothers, to help our brothers out there who are suffering technology bully and GBV being escalated. So you asked how we can use technology. For instance, technology can be used to end gender-based violence in means of in different ways. For example, technology can be used as a preventative measure. How do we use technology? Instead of posting people abusing or posting their issues without considering their privacy and all that, we can use technology to prevent the escalation or the happenings that are ongoing out there. You who has a phone or who has internet can use this, or you who has a phone can use can make use of it through SMSs to send out the message and help people who are suffering. So creating awareness and mitigating the risk of violence can be done here with the use of technology. Develop apps. There are people who are able to develop apps that provide public safety information. So these apps can be sent out there through social media, through internet, for people to learn, create awareness on the vice, how to prevent it, how to overcome it, and how to report these cases. It's very important to know that these cases can be reported. The challenge we have today, people out there, instead of reporting violence, they are instead looking out for ways of how they can tap and get money out of it, out of the incidents. You see how many girls are being harassed, have been defiled, have been sexually abused because of violence. And the people who are responsible, authorities, for instance, the parents, the caretakers, are instead looking for ways of how they can pick money from it. So if our girls are aware, if women are aware, if local authorities are aware that these issues can be handled, for instance, through the law or within the available reporting mechanisms, this awareness goes out there. Even the neighbor can move on and take the matter to the responsible authorities. So creating awareness for all is very important. Men, women, girls, and everyone, local leaders in the societies. It's very important. So it can also be done using technology. The SMSs we get every now and then, for instance, the MTN SMSs can be developed to ensure that they send out such messages. Technology can also be used as a tool to empower women. For instance, as I talked of, bringing them education and avenues through which they can tell their own stories. If you share your experience, it helps someone out there who might also encounter such scenarios, open up and be able to talk about it. You know, sometimes when we share experiences, we learn from them. The person who has not fallen victim can learn. What if such a thing happens, if such a scenario happens, how do they fight against it? How do they overcome it? Because this GBV is psychological, it's emotional, it's physical, it's too much and wide. So we need to know how best we can tap into technologies. Use of helplines, hotlines. How do a girl out there in Kamuli, deep in the village, how can she be able to report? Because it can start as, this violence can start as harassment before it yields into the ultimate abuse, as we know the consequences we get out of it. So how can such a person use the available technology if extended to their exposure? Helplines, hotlines. We have today, I understand we have the 116 helpline for children. If we get more of this, it's good technology that can help out to fight incidences or the escalation of GBV in our communities. We have media today. Media is also technology. How do we use media to ensure that technology, this media is to our exposure to help people, to help the communities fight GBV? Instead of broadcasting, we have content that escalates. You'll see TVs showing naked people, maybe incidences of drama that can escalate this. We can use it meaningfully to ensure that innovative digital communication drama, roles, and other events are displayed for people to learn, because sometimes it's a need to change mindsets so that people can be able to tag into the concept of fighting and ending this vice, GBV. Precisely, that's what I can talk about technology and how meaningfully we can make use of it.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. To add on what you've said, there's
Yes.
um, there's something I came across on the internet, and it was sort of, I think it's an app where people would share their experience. To you don't need to really disclose your name and everything, but they share their
Yes.
experiences on what they've gone through, so that
Yes.
this can be shared with other people to be vigilant
Yes.
what is
Because
happening.
yeah, because in this case also privacy is very important, because we understand how our societies can stigmatize, especially those who have suffered from violence, GBV, and if we consider this privacy, it can help out people. There are so many people out there who are sexually harassed, who are raped, who are stalked, who are bullied, but they can't come out
To
because of
share their
that
stories.
fear. Yes, because of that fear of stigmatization. So as we create awareness, we should understand that someone who has overcome GBV is like any other person who has been healed of a disease, who has been healed of an addiction. So if we create that awareness, it will open for us room to accept these people and also be able to support and help them in their healing processes and coping up. So even then, when such apps are being developed to ensure privacy is considered, we also need to understand our attitudes and perceptions towards this concept. If we do not change attitudes, as I can say, if you ask me, can technology end violence? I will say no, because only people can do that within their families, within their communities, through their cultural practices. We can end violence, but technology can only be used as a tool, as a force to extend information, to create awareness to those who don't know much, to also be used as an avenue for quick responses and seeking of help where need be. Yeah.
Okay. Could you identify for us those ways, the various tools or ways in which these tools can be used to 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 try to control this issue of violence against women?
Thank you. As I noted, the tools that can be used for it, I want us to localize this because we don't want to go extra overboard to technology. Let's use what we have today as we think of developing better.
Yeah.
You see, today we have social media, Facebook, TikTok, you see content running every now and then. But if we have that at our mindset, at the back of the mind, that this whatever I air out must be positively impacting people. So the need to regulate it is very important. As I talked about other avenues, we talked about the use of internet, whereas we have other local avenues like media, radios, SMSs, and other events that we can tap into. So just in case you're able to use technology in line with internet, we call upon the media services, we call upon the technology, the developers to be mindful of privacy. Regulations are very important. How can government tap in to regulate this? I mean, if we come up as stakeholders to end this vice, we also have a duty bearer, which is the government. Can it work hand in hand with the stakeholders to end this? Because as we develop software, as we develop apps, we also need a law to regulate this. Because at the end of the day, if we don't, people will post whatever they need and sometimes it ends up escalating um, or fueling this vice to its continuity. SMSs. We have mobile. We have companies here. We see MTN, Airtel, and so many. Can we tap into those and see how best they can be of help to send out messages? That is technology. If someone is able to read an SMS of MTN and mobile money, can we tag some information in there on our role as communities, on as individuals to fight this vice? Because it starts with us. This the battle or the need to end GBV starts with each and every individual. Hotlines must be responsive. If we call out for help, someone is calling out for help, don't we need people who are nearby? So that means we need to train people. As we use technology, we also have to empower, to build capacity of those who are nearby in different regions, in different communities. Because I'm going to call Kampala and it will take long. It might take forever, but if we build capacity of local people within our societies, it can be of great use, and that can be used as well with technology.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. There is also, I don't know if there are some reports, different organizations write about reports that uh, reports on issues that affect that. Okay, let's say victims of this issue, and I don't know if someone comes across such information, can it really change this? Can it make that someone to be very vigilant on issues, whatever they are posting and sharing, or people they are talking to, because someone can exploit you in a way. We've had issues here on social media platform where certain things became newsworthy because someone exposed something without their permission, and I think it
Yes.
would really affect them.
Yes, that's what I was talking about when it comes to considering privacy. Because if you abuse privacy of someone, you're tapping into their human dignity. I mean, when you post something without my consent, you never know how it will affect me. And remember, this is imprint, it will never be erased. You know, when anything that goes through media, that goes through technology, it cannot be erased. So whatever is posted must be mindful of how it will affect the person. So that's when we need to call in for regulations. Can everyone post anything and it's viewed by everyone? No, of course, that will come through regulations. What should be accepted and what should not be accepted. That's when we need in regulations and rules. So these developers, as we see apps being coming in every day, every now and then, who regulates the content? So it's a collective responsibility as stakeholders, as communities, as individuals, as government that we need to work on. Yeah.
Anyway,
So when reports are being made, because there is a policy, there are professional standards, there are codes and ethics that must be followed. You don't just write someone's content without their permission. Yes, if you see reports, I think by UNICEF, World Bank, by different institutions, they must follow that code to ensure that someone consents to the publication of their information. Yeah.
okay. I want to understand. Do you think there is a law here in Uganda that regulates such issues? Because when you look at social media, you've seen so many things, and sometimes you wonder if government, if really there is a law, and what is done to these people who put up such stuff that is really inappropriate, that could expose someone to violence.
I think there is a gap. What we should know, there must be a gap somewhere because we have different laws in place, or if they are lacking, let them be put in place. If someone can post anything at any time and they are not apprehended or they are not even penalized, it creates room for everyone to do the same. So we need that law, and implementation is very important. We have so many laws probably that would help, but are they being implemented? Are they being enforced? So enforcement and enactment of these laws must call for effort and goodwill from the right authorities. So creating advocacy, as we create advocacy, we need to ensure that we bring on board everyone who is responsible for this, especially government should be in the know every now and then. You see, there are so many maybe cases, I would say, that are files that are lying idle in courts, and these are files of domestic violence or GBV, yet someone's life has not been, justice has not been awarded, and life has been affected. So to close up that gap, continuous advocacy is very important. Yes.
Thank you, Rebecca. What support is available for survivors of GBV who have been affected, who are exposed to this kind of violence?
Thank you. As you mean apparently, because
Yes,
as of
apparently.
now, there must be support, because call for response and services fit for survivors is essential to curb this vice. But what do we have today? We have shelters. Some institutions, NGOs, organizations have put up shelters to help these people who have fallen victim of GBV. But we also need to know how many are they? Are they enough? Do we have enough services that call for the sustainability of these shelters? This also should not be a burden to be carried by only civil society. We call for government to take up this. If there need be for continuous support, let it be accorded. We also have counseling and support, counseling and psychosocial support services. These are very important to help out people heal. These are provided in common public services like hospitals, like health facilities, but we also need to extend this to further reach out to people there are so many who don't come out. So how do we help those who don't come out? It can be extended to the grassroots. Let's train people, VHTs, let's train people out there at the grassroots to reach out to people who have suffered GBV or who are going through it. We have hotlines. I talked of hotlines and helplines. These are used to help these are used to report, seek for redress, or any kind of advice. So, do we have enough? Apparently, what we have is very limited. Congestion. You can call 116 and try as much as you can, but still you don't get much success. So, if we can expand this to greater levels, it will be of great advantage. Yeah, so creating awareness is very important. It's a call for everyone. It's everyone's duty to talk about this vice, because if we don't talk about it, it will continue happening. Legal services are available, so those people who have suffered can as well always report these cases and be helped in the courts of law to attain justice. So that is such kind of help that we have today for GBV survivors or victims.
I was
Yeah.
wondering, for someone who would fake their account, let's say on social media platforms, and they use these platforms to exploit these women and girls. I don't know if you've seen such circumstances where people are lied to through social media and they end up being violated with such issues. How could you advise for someone? What advice would you give someone who's in such a situation?
Well, first of all, these social medias are open-ended platforms. Usually, you go into it uh, willingly, you join social media at will, and most times the challenge is that one will wonder how you got to know if you had to understand, if you did enough background to understand whatever content you were going into or you were downloading for your personal use. So the challenge, as I talked about, is how do we regulate? How do we regulate who uses this, who posts what? Because we've seen con men, we've seen people being conned and abused at the end of the day. What we need to do at the end to avoid such things, because if we don't get a regulation, how can we be vigilant as individuals? We need to be aware. So creating awareness is very important. Change of mindset. as you download some app or some message on social media, are you able to do a background check to know how authentic it is? So we need to inform our people. Information is very important out there. Yes.
Thank you. What should be considered while using technology to address the issue of GBV?
Um, what should be considered, especially if we want to use technology? It should be, there are a few issues we need to consider. I've been talking about them, so it's always repetitive that we have to, one, center the safety and privacy of the survivors, because any app that must be developed is either able to be anonymous, it's able to ensure that no one can access the victim's information easily until you qualify to. It's it's big, it should carefully consider the need of storage, how is this information stored for tomorrow's access, for future use. So privacy is very important. So whatever technology we are using, let's have that at the back of the mind. Then I talked about aligning with the government's bringing government on board, aligning with the priorities and programs that are in place. Whatever program that is in place, we know that it comes up for the people. It's for the development of the people. So are people involved? If we are looking at programs of ending GBV and government is extending it out to the users, are they involved? So participation is very important. Aligning these programs, how do we tap into the priorities and the goals that are set? For instance, if we have national plans running, national development plans, how do we insert into this concept of ending what affects people at the grassroots? So those apps that are developed, can we use the government as a medium to bargain, to create a linkage between the users and the technology medium houses? It's very important. That's when we get the point of regulations, we get to the point of enacting relevant laws. So we need to consider that. How do we put the government into it to understand that the government can play a role? We also need to carefully include and outstream the role of stakeholders. The media can raise awareness. We have enough stakeholders that can collectively join hands to raise awareness and
Our guest, I think, is having network issues. There are some innovative conversations that have been happening uh, in terms of technology on towards GBV in Uganda, and these are some of them are apps, some of them are just programs that are run on our social media platforms and TV shows, I would say. One of them is Sauti Plus. It's an app for GBV information and services. It has podcasts, videos, blogs, and referral centers where they can be used to refer these cases of such situations. A victim of GBV can easily get information through these apps to look for help. There is also self PAL. It's also an app for GBV victims seeking psychosocial support. They get counseling from such places and are also referred to shelters and maybe other organizations that can help them. There is also the Chadala TV show. It's a dramatic show that has conversations in relation to GBV, of which it provides counseling and refers people to who have experienced GBV to seek assistance. Rebecca, you were still continuing with what
Yeah,
we should
what?
consider while using
Yes,
technology. Yes.
carefully. I was talking about carefully understanding the role of each stakeholder, as we know that the private sector has an important role to play in developing technology-based solutions. We can consider government can be partnered. We can partner with the government to support with enabling environment through appropriate regulations and financing that help build the capacity of the public services. For instance, if we need police, how can government help to finance police to help in the fight of this? Health services, legal services, these are all mechanisms or services that can come from the side of the government to be accessible to everyone, because we understand not everyone can afford a private lawyer. Not everyone can afford a private health facility, especially those who usually suffer GBV. So the public sector can work as a safeguard in terms of quality of care and response. It safeguards how far can we go, it regulates, and it makes available, it makes the services available for each and every one. So when we come to the private sector, their role, for instance, the media can raise awareness. It's widely used. Radios, TVs, they can be tools for raising awareness. Academia can test and verify the effectiveness of interventions. They can come out to assess, evaluate what is going right, what is not going right. So if we know that there are GBV experts that we've trained, that understand, that can advocate for survivors, is very critical. So the role of each and every stakeholder is very important to consider when we are using technology. Okay, I think Jackie, that's some of the considerations I can mention. We develop these apps meaningfully, having at the back of our mind the rights, the key component of human rights, which is dignity of a person and enjoyment of their other rights, because we know human rights are interrelated and interdependent. Yes, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Okay, this brings us to the end of our discussion. You can catch up on our social media platforms at Worry Uganda. That's our Twitter handle. Then Worry Women. That's our Instagram account. And also, you can still continue watching us on YouTube and Facebook at the Women Rights Initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.